Jake, I was told that it's not the kind of parts you put in the engine, but it's the person putting the parts on that matter. What do you got to say about that?
I think I would agree with that in a lot of aspects. You know, I've seen a lot of instances where a vast majority of us, a lot of our shops, were using the same parts, whether it be OE parts or it could be, you know, Interstate McBee, AFA, PAI. We're all using the same stuff. But what it comes down to is who are the people that are doing the assembly and the inspection, so that you know when it leaves that it was done right the first time. So a couple examples that come to mind with that question would be, what are the standard operating procedures that that shop has in place to assure both the quality control and consistency with the work we're doing? So for instance, you know, this truck that we're starting to get torn down, you know, just the way that we have our guys doing bagging and tagging the parts, these have not been processed yet, but every single bin has a specific part that is expected to be in it. There's this consistency throughout the entire process, start to finish. We have certain procedures that as soon as that truck is in the shop, before it gets torn down, you know, things that we're checking. Did it come in with the cruise working? Did it come in with the air conditioning working? What symptoms is it exhibiting? Can we replicate those symptoms? So having consistency and having repeatable processes go a long way to help improve those things. Here's a gear off this truck, for instance, where part of our tear down, we found that this gear was severely overheated. The bushing in it is all worn out, so that's something that we need to address. We didn't know it. The owner didn't know it before it got here, but you know, catching things like that as early in the process as possible to reduce that downtime is important. You know, other common things that we look for, you know, the very first thing we do when we get a truck in here is we evaluate the camshaft and we pull the main bearings off of 1, 3, and 7 so we can look at the condition of the crankshaft. We want to know the answers to these things before we have it all completely down, because those can be complete game changers for that customer in terms of budget and feasibility of getting that engine overhauled. You know, other things too, cat injectors. We had one the other day, the spring on the cat injector was broken. You know, do we want to catch that when we're tearing it down on day 1, or do we want to catch that when we're putting it back together on day 7? And now we have another additional day at downtime if we have to wait on a part or whatnot. Little things like that go a long way to improving our process. I know on average with all the builds we do, we literally have about 10 hours just in the cleaning parts, sometimes more depending on the severity of it. In certain applications where, you know, for instance, we're doing the gear timing on the front of a Cummins, or, you know, if we're doing valve train stuff, oftentimes we'll have 2 guys teamed up so that we're kind of cross-checking each other's work, making sure our torque specs are correct, making sure, you know, our feeler gauges are being used correctly. Those are 2 things that are some of the most critical and potential catastrophic issues if not done perfect the first time. You know, we have a process start to finish from the tear down, where those parts go, our cleanliness standards, our assembly standards, using all of our torque specs off of Cummins and Cat Sys, so that when it's finished, we know that it's right the first time and that you got a good, reliable engine. If you need any help with any overhauls, in frames, out of frames, give us a call, Grand Prairie Diesel at 217-714-1268.